Testing 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Right. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all participants. Right. Without further ado, may I ask everyone to stand up for our national anthem? The Morocco Assalamualaikum, Marba, and Sabah Al-Hir. Welcome and good morning. Syukur Alhamdulillah, we are grateful to be here for the 11th AicE-Bs2023 Marrakech, the 1st until the 7th of March 2023. Right. And did why? And today I should be your event. I should be your MC for this event. Now, we should now briefly go to the program for today. But without further ado, I would like first to give shout out first to our conference and AMER advisor, which is Professor Dr. Cadi Ayyad Dr. Jamal Lady. Right. Next, I would like to call upon Conference Chair, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yusuf Abbas. Next is the Conference Co-Chair, Professor Dr. Maslan Sawono. And the Conference Co-Host, which is Professor Dr. Fatimah Il-Fahid. And also to the IC members, which are the AMER board members and ABRA members, professors, academicians, and postgrad students. Right. Right, ladies and gentlemen, selamat datang and a very good morning to all. Now let's go the program. First, before we start, we will have the Behavioural Recital by Professor Maslan. The second, we have a welcoming speech by the co-host. Next, we will have the welcoming speech by the chair. Next, we will have the opening speech by the advisor. Next, we will have the AMER AicE-Bs2023, and we will have our coffee break. So without further ado, first, I would like to call upon Prof. Maslan for the Behavioural Center.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks, Arif. And Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Hamdan syakirin. Hamdan yuafina kafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yambaghi likal karimi azimi sultanik. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallam. Ya Tuhan kami, segala puji hanya bagi-Mu ya Allah, Tuhan semesta alam. Kepadamu kami berserah dan kepadamu jualah kami memohon perlindungan. Selawat dan salam ke atas junjungan besar Nabi Muhammad SAW, kepada ahli keluarga baginda, para sahabat dan tabi'in. Ya Allah, kami mohon kepadamu akan keimanan yang sempurna ya Allah, keyakinan yang benar ya Allah, ilmu yang berguna, hati yang khusyuk, lidah yang sentiasa berzikir kepadamu ya Allah. Limpahkan dan kurniakanlah kepada kami rezeki yang halal lagi diberkati. Engkau lapangkanlah hati kami, Kau satukanlah hati-hati kami. Kau berkatilah perhimpunan kami pada hari ini ya Allah. Semoga ianya semoga perhimpunan ini mendapat keredaan-Mu ya Allah. Kau pandanglah pada kami, usaha kami di dalam usaha untuk memperbaiki segala untuk kebaikan alam sejagat ini ya Allah. Ya Allah, ampunilah dosa kami, ampunilah dosa kedua kami, dan kami mohon agar perhimpunan kami akan berjalan dengan mudah dan dengan berjaya ya Allah. Wassallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Maslan. Next, I will invite the co-host for her welcoming speech, please. You want to applause, please?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for honoring us with co-organizing this 11th AMER conference in Marrakech. I wish you had a very safe trip and that you are well catered for and everything is up to your expectations. We are very happy, Professor Dr. Yusuf and myself, to welcome you today in Marrakech after what took something like 3 years of organization. And I'm very happy that today we can eventually host this international conference, this very important conference that opens up or that bridges our relations, the relations of our university, Cadi Ayyad University in the region of Marrakech, Safibat in Marrakech, because we are a university that is in 3 cities, and also between your universities in Malaysia, across Malaysia, and across the Asian continent. This is, I would say, one of the first times that we do actually co-organize something, a conference like this one, with other universities, and I do guarantee that this has been a long effort that I would like to commend Dr. Yusuf for, because he has relentlessly made the efforts and commitment to not only organize this conference, but also to make our cooperation relations with the 2 universities work, and alhamdulillah, today we can say that they are evolving towards, very quickly towards many forms of cooperation, one of which is this conference. I would like also to thank all the participants who have been able to make it to Morocco. I hope that you had an easy trip, that your stay in Morocco will, of course, give you the curiosity and ignite your desire to come back, to come not just for conferences, but to come as friends of Morocco. And I would like to also thank the participants who are online, and wish that we will be able to organize many such conferences in the future. Thank you very much, and I wish a successful works and successful outcomes for this conference. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to call the chair for his welcoming speech. A round of applause, please, the chair.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our advisor, Prof. Jamal, inshallah. Our co-host, Prof. Fatima, thank you very much for finally hosting after a 3-year plan. And to all participants, ISC, ABRA board members, and AMER members, thank you very much for your attendance today. Talking about 3 years ago, what happened was that I came here 3 years ago, actually, before the COVID, and I met Prof. Fatima, and we have actually confirmed with one of the hotels, actually. But when I went back to Malaysia, it has to be postponed for 3 years, and I forgot the name of the hotel that we initially made an agreement with. Seriously, I really forgot. I was trying to look at it by accident. But finally, alhamdulillah, we managed to get this, which is a good, I would say it is a good hotel. It is quite feasible, and alhamdulillah, we managed to come here. Now, thank you again. It has not been an easy trip for most of us, actually, because first of all, the flight is now double the price as we used to be, yeah. And sadly, many could not make it because of the flight. But they have actually turned their papers to Bangkok now. Diverted their papers to Bangkok. Only the abstract came to Morocco. The full papers, most of them have diverted to Bangkok, which is much more feasible for us there. Yeah. Just some housekeeping. Make sure you are always with your tag because of the security, and not to, just make your day without any issues, especially when you go to the restaurants for your meals and so on. Okay, so without the tag, you might be stopped, and it would be quite embarrassing. So please video tag from now and until dinner time. Yeah. Okay. And secondly, just a bit about the submission of full papers. I think the regulars, they know how to do it. Yeah. But for those who are first timer, okay, it is compulsory to submit both to the EBPJ platform and also to the conference secretary. Now, why I'll be asking both? Because sometimes we got technical glitches and it doesn't appear in the EBPJ. Yeah, and sometimes at least you know, when you send to this conference secretary, you got a double safety there, so that we can always refer to the email draft. More about this during our post conference on Wednesday. Yeah, I hope all of you. Yeah, I always forgot about those online. Yeah, please, yeah, both online and F2F. Please attend the post conference on Wednesday. Yeah, next week. Yeah, so I shall still be in the UK of the conference. Okay, so the post conference will be broadcasted from UK. Why I'm saying this, because make sure it is the UK time, which is 8 hours behind Malaysian time. Especially for those potential best paper award winners, if you miss the time zone, you know, you feel very sorry for it. Okay, so I'll just we will just remind you again in the email, right? Right. So again, thank you very much for your effort, especially those who are here in the conference venue. We really appreciate the attendance. Yeah. And secondly, about the tours, yeah, we've got one day tour, yeah, 1 day city tour, and then to be followed by 3 days extended tours. Okay, Alhamdulillah, all sorted out now, yeah, and you know, the price that we manage, Alhamdulillah, you know, is much more lesser than we thought, you know, when we considered the proposal as well. Yeah, please, for those who will be going for the 1 day tomorrow, please make sure that you are at the reception around 8 a.m. because the bus will leave at 8:30 a.m. sharp. Yeah. So to those who miss the bus, I think you have to go on your own. Yeah, with your own itinerary, on your own day trip. Right. Thank you again. Hope we have a very fruitful conference today. Thank you very much. Ready? Okay.
Thank you to the Chair, Prof. Yusuf. Now, I will invite the advisor for his opening speech. Professor.
Okay, thank you, Adib. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and greetings from UiTM Shah Alam. Alhamdulillah, praise to Allah that we are able to meet again, and this time at the 11th AicE-Bs 2023 Marrakech ABRA International Conference on Environment-Behaviour Studies. To the conference chair, Professor Yusuf, conference co-chair, Professor Masran, and also conference co-host, Professor Dr. Fima Il-Fahim, as well as IISc members, ABRA board members and members, professors, academics, all paper presenters, and also postgraduate students. Ladies and gentlemen, so selamat datang and a very good morning to all. Marba, Sabah Al-Khair. I apologize that I'm unable to join physically the conference this time, since I have to chair the semester exam meeting yesterday and today. So alhamdulillah, that one is completed. So I'm happy that that the conference is off to a good start. So this AicE-Bs 2023 Marrakech marks the 40th international conference organized by AMER, ABRA, and SEPS KAB UiTM. So congratulations to Professor and the team for successfully organizing the 40th edition of this conference, which I remember started in UITM in 2009. So now it is the 40th edition. For this edition, we have received 51 abstracts, and of those 51 abstracts, 48 were approved. And the contributors, in terms of the first authors, 37 were from Malaysia, and 2 each from Egypt, Morocco, and Taiwan, and 1 each from Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey. So the papers from Malaysia, they were co-authored with authors from 15 different countries, which are like 15 from Indonesia and 2 each from China, United Kingdom, and Uzbekistan, and 1 each from Egypt, India, Iran, Japan, New Zealand, Nigeria, Oman, Pakistan, Singapore, South Korea, and Turkey. So this really makes this conference as really an international conference. So congratulations to all the authors and co-authors of the papers for significant international collaborations. So those papers can be categorized into 20 subcategories. So the top 3, the most popular ones are commercial, retail, and services environment with 7 papers, followed by 5 abstracts each in the category of design and creative environments, local heritage environments, and sustainable environments. So those approved abstracts were transformed into 34 approved papers, which is a commanding return of 7 to 72% of all the abstracts. So the papers approved grouped generally under 18 subcategories, although quite a number of papers could have been easily placed under more than 1 category. The top 2 categories in order of popularity involve the following environments: local heritage environment, which has 4 papers, followed by community environment, residential environment, sustainability environment, and tourism hospitality environment with 3 papers each. So congratulations again, and I would like to inform that the AicE-Call 2023 will be held in Bangkok, Thailand from 28th to the 30th of April 2023. And the abstract deadline for the early birds will be on the 8th of March 2023. So that's only like less than 1 week away. So Professor will be very busy again reviewing all these abstracts. So for this Marrakech conference, special thanks to the tireless crew behind the scene to ensure the smooth running of the conference, and also millions of thanks to our co-organizer in Marrakech, and to our friends in Marrakech. You are very welcome to come to Malaysia and to visit us at UITM, inshallah. So lastly, we do hope for your active participation throughout today and to have an enlightening conference. So with lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I declare AicE-Bs 2023 Marrakech open. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning to everyone, fellow researchers in this hall, and good afternoon or evening to others all around the globe. Okay, welcome to the morning session, which is the breakout one of the AicE-Bs 2023 Marrakech. We have 7 papers to be presented by the respective author and co-authors. By the way, I'm Dr. Ahmad Rizwan, your chairperson for this session. And my duty is to ensure that the program will run smoothly and finish on time, even though we are already delayed by 30 minutes or so. Okay, allow me to brief some rules that our presenters and audience to abide. Firstly, each presenter is given 10 minutes to present the paper. His or her co-author, which is highly recommended, may also participate, but within the stipulated time given, right? Within 10 minutes. I will give a reminder when the 7 minutes is out, right? And I will instruct to conclude the presentation 1 minute before the time. So that means we should be on time. Alright, so and then followed by Q&A, limited to 5 to 10 minutes, depend. Okay. And please introduce yourself, name and operation before questioning. Okay. I think we don't want to prolong any longer because we are behind time. Okay, with that, I would like to welcome our first presenter today, Siti Nadia Muhammad Ali, with co-author Uraza Hushad, Nurul Sahidah Fauzi, Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Aziz Ralim, to the stage to present her paper. So the title paper is exploring the role of fiqh waqi in Wakaf and Zakat Conversion framework for hostel development. Okay, please take this. Thank you. I'm starting now.
And a very good morning to all floor members. I am Siti Nadia binti Muhammad Ali from UIT AMER, College of Built Environment Real Estate Management. And for today, I would like to share with you our research papers, and the title is Exploring the Role of Fiqh Waqi in Zakat and Wakaf Collaboration Framework for Hostel Development. And this is a part of my PhD work, okay? Okay, the research background for this paper, basically we are going to develop hostel development using Islamic two economics. There are Wakaf and Zakat. What is Wakaf and Zakat actually? Wakaf is considered contribution or something that given by the Muslim towards Allah, but it's not compulsory. It is an voluntary purpose. But for Zakat, it is compulsory payment that have to be paid by the Muslim qualified for the certain hal and kifayah to pay the zakat for every year. So using these two economic concepts in Islam, we suggest that the university management to use wakaf land and zakat fund to develop hostel development. Why? Because it is in Islam, wakaf and zakat have their own hukum, their own qualified practice to be applied. Okay, the research objective actually to determine can university wakaf land, wakaf their land to develop the hostel development. And the second objective is that can we use zakat fund collected from the university, especially in university in Malaysia, to be used as a maintenance cost to be paid. Okay, it can be applied. And also the aim of the research is the goal is to study the outline, the step, the process, and how to develop this practical framework. This is the literature review. We arrange it using NVivo so that it will be look nicely. From this literature, we conclude that there are three concepts of wakaf and zakat collaboration that has been practiced before. In the literature, we have 28 literature. They focus, number one, for development of wakaf and zakat for projects. Various projects. It can be used to develop school from the article. It can be used to build shopping complexes, office building, housing scheme, agriculture project. Too many projects to be explored. And number two, wakaf and zakat productivity. They use wakaf and zakat for to run the business. We can call it a microfinance, okay? And number three, zakat and wakaf as a capital. When they use the zakat and wakaf capital, they combine the cash wakaf, not using the wakaf land, but the cash wakaf with the zakat cash, and then they use as a capital to collaborate between the Muslim entrepreneur. Okay, this is what the gap I would like to share with you. Okay, the collaboration of wakaf and zakat basically has been highlighted in the education sector. It is proposed by all these researchers, okay? And then number two, zakat and collaboration in Malaysia for housing purpose has been proposed by Khairuddin from UAE. This is a very, very prominent researcher professor in UAE and now in UITM. Maybe Prof. Rizwan know, Dr. Karuddin, Prof. K, from QS department. This is he's the one who proposed the wakaf and zakat for the housing development. Okay, number 3, we have for health development, and also number 4 for disaster development. And this for disaster development is Faizal Salawati from Indonesia. It is because maybe Indonesia have a lot of natural disaster problems, so that the researcher can come up with this framework. It's very, very interesting. And then where's the gap in the research? I would like to stay here. The research gap here is the how they want to collaborate. We keep asking how we can collaborate the voluntary Islamic rule and also the compulsory. How to get it? Okay, and then this is the process from the ontology, ecology, of course, as usual. From the research methodology, we are using exploratory design basic qualitative. Why? Because the words to explore. We don't know what is the practice now. We just want to explore whether it has or not in the market. Okay? So number 3, we collect data using semi-structured interview, of course, and we triangulate the data because we interviewed 3 parties in the state Islamic religious councils. They are from Mufti department, Zakat department, and also Wakaf department. So these 3 data, these 3 participants, we triangulate each other of the idea. Okay, the analysis process, the conceptual framework that has been developed is one of the tools that we use to analyze each of the research questions. Oh, sorry. Okay, basically it is a conceptual framework that has been guide me to analyze this research paper. Of course, we're using Tawhidic paradigm. Wakaf and Zakat is part of the Islamic tools that we have to stress in the research. And the Islamic tools, of course, we have to follow the rules of Allah, the hukum of Islam. That's why we put Islamic paradigm of Tawhidic paradigm towards Allah. As a human, as a Muslim, we have to obey with this. And of course, from the conventional perspective, we try to develop university administration, the strategic management for the university themselves, how they're thinking, how they want to develop this hotel development that can be developed, how they create the idea. And also we're using fake wakaf. Why fake wakaf? What is fake wakaf actually? Fake wakaf is one of the Sharia principles that's been introduced by our former ulama, contemporary ulama, Sheikh Yusuf Al-Qaradawi. Okay, the fake wakaf is something that we can apply academically to the situation. Not all situation, not all place can use this concept, but then we have to evaluate the wakaf and zakat principles tested in each place or university or situation. It cannot be pukul rata lah. It have to be evaluated by the mufti, of course, by the each states.
Yeah, 3 more minutes.
Okay, this is the analysis process. In qualitative, as usual, we are using the en vivo by the 3 participants, and we manage to analyze, and we get 15 codes. And the theme of this framework, number 1, the productivity on earning of zakat. The university themselves have to make sure the zakat that's been collected by the university themselves have to be very enough lah, not sufficient to run the maintenance costs. Number 2, fake wakaf approach. This fake wakaf approach has to get approval from the mufti each state, not the rector. Not the rector, but the mufti of each state. And then the readiness of a state and the council to accept new wakaf. New wakaf, that's mean university themselves is willingness to wakaf their land. When we talk about wakaf land, the university land have to transfer their land to the name of the state Islamic religious councils. Maybe we are from Perak, University UiTM Perak have to wakaf part of their land to use to develop the hostel to the name of Perak Majlis Agama Islam. Majlis Agama Islam Perak, okay? And then number 4, building a hostel framework. Why hostel? Why not koperasi? Why not kuliah room? Because the hostel development, one of the main problem of this research, the student housing, the student increasing their lifestyle because of the hostel. That's what, Prof, this is intro me.
Alright.
Okay, how to close it? Minimize it?
Okay.
Sorry,
You might still 1 minute, no problem.
okay, no matter, I can. Wait. You have to hit it?
I think you have to conclude, please.
Okay, this one? Okay, sure. Okay, this is the final framework that we have proposed to university management. Hello, university. Okay, university management, willingness, awareness to develop this Wakaf hostel building. Number one, you as a university management have to have good relationship with the state Islamic religious councils. Negotiate what kind of building we want to develop, what type of how much the allocation of the zakat fund to be developed. And you as a university administrator, are you willing to wakaf your land? That is the one question that we have to highlight if we want to develop this hostel development. Number two, we get the Mufti Department approval using fiqh waket. The fiqh waket, you cannot push the Mufti to use fiqh waket, but the Mufti themselves know their roles to use fiqh waket approach to approve the hostel development, okay, building, and the productivity and earning of zakat. So we as a university administrator have to push our staff, pay zakat, because the zakat will give gain to the student bags, okay? Because student is asnaf fi sabilillah. I cannot explain detail about fi sabilillah. You can read because I don't have enough time, okay? The readiness of SRC to accept new wakaf just now to accept the wakaf of hostels, okay? Okay, and then you submit the discussion. Inshallah, State Islamic Council will approve this project because zakat and wakaf for ummah, from ummah to ummah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Siti Nadia, for an outstanding and interesting presentation. It's new to me as well. So now I would like to open the floor for Q&A. Anybody from the hall? Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for the very interesting.
Please introduce yourself and.
My name is Rohanana. I'm from Faculty Business Management. First of all, congratulations for a very good presentation. But if we were to look into UiTM already offered several initiatives to use the wakaf to help the betterment of the students of underprivileged. But my question is, what are the critical factors that you think that dampen this process from wakaf to hostel development? As what you said, this is going to be very lucrative for business. What are the crucial factors that might influence?
Thank you for Anna for the questions. The critical success factor to establish the framework is the university themselves. They are willing to wakaf the land because in this wakaf hostel we need land. Money is for construction costs and maintenance costs. Without land, we cannot proceed this project. And of course, with some negotiation between state Islamic councils and university, it can be developed. That's been a mutual understanding between university and Majlis Agama Islam. That's why we are talking about collaboration. It's not about wakaf and zakat only, but then we are the management, human, to make sure that established. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other question? I think for the audience, for the member of the floor, like to ask question. I think you got to come here because your question is cannot be here properly. Yeah? So the next one will be got to come to the stage. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Maybe if you have any other question, maybe you don't have to no time to talk to now. You can talk later, right? During lunchtime or something like that. Anybody from the online? Prof J? Because I saw your name is still there. Okay. Anybody else?
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you once again, Siti Nadia and Rohana for the presentation. Okay, let's move to the next paper presenter. I'd like to welcome Muhammad Kipli Abdul Rahman with co-authors Mon Hyung Suk, Nur Suradi Nur Rashid, Amandus Paul Panan to present a paper entitled Image of Spiritual Self-Integrity of the Ethnic Bajau in the Ritual Theatre, IGOP. Alright? So, okay, please welcome Muhammad Kipli.
Assalamualaikum, very good morning. Thank you for everyone. I'm Kipli, and my co-author is Mon Hyung Suk from Samyang University in South Korea, Saradi Norasim from Sultan Idris Education University, and I'm in the small panel from UiTM as well. And I'm from the College of Creative Art. And the title of my presentation today is the image of spiritual self-integrity of the ethnic Bajau in the ritual in the Igal. So the background of the study is about Igal Panangsang, Bajau Laut, Pulau Bumbung Sempurna, and about the legend of Arung Salamia. So Igal Panangsang is where the decision was reached collectively by the Bajau Laut community when they went to Bumbung Island village areas such as in Bilang-Bilang village. So Panangsang means which carries the meaning of rangsang, or stimulus is associated with a supernatural being. And the origin of the Panangsang ritual dance performance has been linked to the myth or legend of Bajau Laut ethnic, namely the legend of Arung Salamia. And during her life, she had a close relationship with the marine life, especially stingrays. And at the end of her life, her spirit is said to have connected into a stingray while surrounded by other marine life known as ombok. So we are talking about the ombok. So the objective of the studies is to establish a portrayal of self-integrity of ethnic Bajau in the ritual theatre performance of So the theoretical application of the finality are applied to analyze how both aspects display the self-integrity portrayal of the ethnic Bajau in the dramatic structure of the ritual theatric Igal Panangsang. So the literature review is about the Pulah or condemnation, and then the Panangsang, the ritual performance. And I see the ritual performance is a theatre according to the performance theory by Schreiner and Peter Turner. So ritual theatre is seen as Igal Panangsang. So it combines of the elements of dance, music and song, the mantra, and then the performer, the prop and set, and acting. So the picture shown is the legendary Arung Salamia, and the communitas and liminality is the theory and the self-integrity in the ritual theatre. So there is a shaman in this performance who will transform his consciousness from common consciousness to the state of subconscious. And then to developing the concept of liminality and communitas as example of a structured community experience in which all members have the same social status. So those communitas and liminality experiences in the ritual theatre Igal are also related to the process of self-integrity. And that stems from the internal factor which is spirituality. So the Kamus Dewan and Tifo said self-integrity is a genuine and noble self. Self-integrity refers to the specific character of an individual who has an internal soul, spirit and motivation. So the Turner calls the term ritual theatre in order to account for symbolism of conflict and crisis resolution, because there is a crisis in this ritual theatre, so it becomes drama. So we call it ritual drama or ritual theatre. So the methodology is shown in the screen. Qualitative participation vision, focus interview, and then the final funding cultural themes about the portrayal of self-integrity in the ritual performances. So this is the findings. So this is the dramatic structure, which is action and times. So the performance will start with the mantla. It's a form of chanting or prayer recited by the kalamat or the shaman or bomo as a form of calling the ombok, the Arung Salamia, who turned into an ombok when she died, so that Igal Panangsang can be conducted perfectly, and then followed by the Tagugu or Titikan, Again, a compilation of music played using the traditional musical instrument, kulintangan. So musicians interact with the ombok to ensure that the music played will be following the wish of the ombok. And then followed by the igal lela, igal limbayan, igal tabawan. So referring to the types of ombok that have entered the body of the performer and communicate with the kalamat, and then which produce the verbal conflict between the performer. The presence of the ombok can be felt, and there is a change in the performer's movement, signifying that they have become subconscious or fallen into a state of trance. This is where the climax happens. Yeah? And then the kalamat enter the supernatural world, giving way to the ombok, arung salamiyah, to enter the body. So the embodiment of arung salamiyah into the kalamat. So the resolution for Tula, the movement of Bidal Panangsang by performers becoming slower and weaker, supernatural being will slowly begin to leave the body of the patient. So the kalamat will not tears on the patient face in order to bring back the patient with a state of consciousness as they allow on board to leave the body of the patient. And then after that, the kalamat will clarify the negotiation of the agreement sealed by the supernatural entities as mentioned to the patient healing or recovery to the members of the family present. And then the discussion about the aspect of spiritual self-integrity in Igal, as zealous and the nature of the ocean is the Bajau ethics of integrity. So the Panangsang is the climax performance, which is when the kalamat possessed by the arung salamiyah, the ombok, and the function of the Makpa Igal in the big circle is as a sign of gratitude to the sea jinn who controls the entire area in the district of Sempurna. So there are three Igal, Igal Lela, Igal Tabawan, and Igal Libayan are the incarnation of marine life embodied in the performer's body, the patient. So according to the Bajau Edik beliefs, if the kalamat in the other performers have been possessed by the spirit of the sea lord, then this indicates that the sea spirit has been satisfied with the performance of Tagungu music and Igal Panangsang dance. Yeah? The supernatural entity feels that they are still remembered and celebrated. This also shows that the ombok, the marine life, always guided their inheritance.
You have another 30
conclusion.
3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. It is very clear that the spiritual aspect is a strong foundation and has given a great contribution to the formation of the self-integrity of any Bajau depicted through the performance of the ritual theatre named Igal. So coming from the belief in the harmonious relationship between the physical and metaphysical beings, it is very reasonable to defend this belief as to the core self-integrity of the ethnic Bajau. It is successfully contributed to a stronger harmony among the ethnic Bajau in particular and Malaysian in general. A deep understanding of the role of the ritual theatre Igal in forming the self-integrity need to be attained so that the heritage and legacy can continue for the next generation. Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Selamat pagi.
Thank you, Muhammad Kipling. Okay, thank you, Muhammad Kipling. It's before time. That's good. Okay, we say 1 or 2 minutes from his presentation. Okay, now I'd like to open to the floor. If you have any question, I think please come to the front. Okay. I mean,
have questions.
Okay, please.
Any video recording is on the.
I don't think any video recording. It will take too long if I play video recording. It's for 3 nights performances. Normally 3 nights. It depends on the ombok. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the enlightening. I guess there's a new knowledge for me and for the rest. Okay, my question is actually straightforward. How this affect the sustainability of the Sempurna ocean and island, and also the next question is this: what is the initiative taken for the next generations to learn about this ritual? I call it ritual. Is that
it is a ritual. So I call it ritual theatre because I'm from theatre background, so I see it as a theatre because there is a conflict, a drama. So when there is a conflict, a drama, there is a theatre and drama. So I call it theatre as suggested by Schechner and Victor Turner. So this is the scholar in the performance studies. So I'm looking from the perspective of the performance studies. So performance studies, everything, action is performance. Being is performance. So I see it as performance. And here, it is become more into performance and performing art because there is a conflict. Because that is the characteristic of the drama.
How does this, what is your justification in terms of your stand in protecting this ritual with our Muslim beliefs?
Yes.
Thank you.
Not only Muslim, actually for Christian, in Sabah, in Sarawak, in Island, even Muslim and Christian are against these ritual performances because it is from pagan, animism, yes? That is why, in terms of sustainability, it is very difficult to sustain, but because of the, in the modern time, first is the modern medicine, and the second is the coming of the religion, the advance of the Christian and Islam, which is against the ritual performances, which is derived from the ritual, which is paganism and animism. There is a conflict there as well. So in terms of that is why I doing this research is for the well-being of the community, and to sustain it is as a performing art. So we have to modify the performance. When I go to the site, they do exactly the performance with the patient, and it is khurafat, of course, in Islam, but I'm coming from the performance perspective, so I don't have to be biased because I'm not doing an Islamic parameter like walking, because my parameter is performance studies. So performance studies, I cannot bias, so I look at it as a performing art, as a performance, so I appreciate the performer, and then the economic, there is well-being, not only mentally or psychology well-being actually. That is why I call it self-integrity, because nowadays their identity, their self-integrity is actually related to the sea. That is how when Arwah Salamia transformed into the stingray when she died, she passed away. So these ocean, the sea creatures is believed to embody when they call. They become ombo and they embody the performer. And that is why the Igalalang, Tabawan and Imbayan, those are the ombo from the sea creatures. They embody the performer's body because the patient got sick. So how to heal the sickness? So they have to see the kalaman. Yes.
Like watching the Wakanda Forever, the sea creatures. If you notice the latest Wakanda Forever, the latest movie from Wakanda Forever.
If you've seen also Moana, it is about the Bajala because they are the sea people. Because if you want to look back our identity as a Malay, we are the sailors. That is why I'm interested to do research on this. This is to look at our identity, our self-integrity as a sailors, and our relationship with the ocean creatures is very intimate. When the Malacca was found, who were the people who live in the Malacca? We call it orang laut. But when the British came, they said Lanon. No, they are not Lanon. They is us, Melayu. Yes. But the Westerners use their own terminology to make them superior. So they said we are Lanon. So it's not Lanon.
People say they distributed by who's in the country.
Yeah. So therefore it's very interesting to do this research. It's about our self-integrity as a belief. So forget about it. Yes, it is for our part because we were animism before Islam came in, before Christian came. But there is a positive thing that you can take. And when I introduce this into university, I don't, Indonesian students in my class, so I don't teach them all those mantra in the ritual. I just teach them how to dance, how to act, everything about performing art, about theater. So I don't teach them the mantra because that is from Rapat, and in the formal terms we cannot how to take, because it is, we call it saka. If you have that saka, then you can learn this performance, you can become the kalamat. Otherwise you cannot, because only the chosen one can become the shaman or the kalamat. The chosen one. I think that's one thing.
Okay, I think it's very interesting, and many respondents respond to the topics. Any more questions? I think we still have time. Yeah. Right. Anybody from online? Oh, I just wonder. You want to ask anything? No. Okay. Okay, I'd like to ask Kepli on if I mean the performer, I mean, is it influenced by gender, for example? Does the show to be male or female?
Not necessarily. The chosen one can be male or female. It depends on the ombo. Normally, because they have the criteria, but I cannot tell you the criteria. It depends on the ombo, the spirit. But normally, if soccer means you have the DNA in you, you have the DNA in you, inherited from your ancestors, then you will follow. So become the kalamat.
So any, I mean, in terms of funding, in terms of number, more male or more female or?
Female.
Oh,
Female.
Okay.
That is when we are looking at about the empowerment of women in the ASEAN society. This is very interesting because how we empower the woman to get that high status in the community. Since our animisms period, because all are women who become the kalamat, and the kalamat is the, you know, it's like the leader of the community. So the woman is the leader of the community and respected by all the people. So how do the traditional community empower women?
So women have more power?
Yes,
No?
more power. Yeah,
Okay.
because they make the decision. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kipling, for your elaboration. I think maybe we need more understanding. We see you. Okay. All right. So next, I would like to welcome Huraiza Arshad. Is it? Okay. Okay. With her co-author Siti Nadia Muhammad Ali, Nurul Shahid Fauzi, media tulisan to present a paper entitled "Content Validation of the Competencies." Component of building maintenance management for wakaf-based religious school. Please, to the stage.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I had a very good afternoon here in Morocco. Okay, so supposed to be today, Reza Arshad will present this topic, but unfortunately she is unable to be here today, so I will present this on behalf of her and my team members. Alright, so today I would like to share with all of you a research title of Content Validation of the Competencies Components of Building Maintenance Management for Wakaf-based Islamic Religious School. Okay, so maintenance workers, when we talk about buildings, okay, so the important things is maintenance. And maintenance workers are one of the most critical assets for any maintenance organization, especially for school buildings, because it involves a lot of students. Okay, there is school administrators' knowledge, abilities, and attitudes will ensure the functionality of school buildings and facilities. Okay, however, most school administrators of religious schools in Malaysia lack of technical knowledge in building maintenance management. Okay, this can be proved by looking to the several evidence of incidents that have been happens. Okay, I think there's a lot of incidents happened related to the religious schools. Okay, for example, like building defects, broken facilities, accidents, and fire. All right. Okay, so therefore, these papers aimed. Okay, there is two objectives for these papers: to develop and validate. To develop, the first one is to develop the building maintenance management competencies, and the next one is to validate. Okay, to validate the components. Okay, by using content verification techniques. Okay, so this is actually part of the research to develop a building maintenance management competencies module. So this is the first, the earlier stage of the research. All right. According to the British standards, okay, maintenance is a collection of all technical and administrative procedures, including supervisory actions, intended to keep or repair an item in a state that enables it to fulfill a needed functions. Okay, and some of the activities includes of inspections, okay, cleaning, rectification, replacements, and renovations. All right. Okay, so school building maintenance is a task and responsibilities associated with maintaining and repairing school buildings, physical structures, and systems. All right, so building maintenance is very important. So the competencies to manage the building also is very important. Okay, because of religious schools in Malaysia, okay, some of that through wakaf property. All right, so it is good to look into wakaf to consider technicals and Sharia principles in the management, in the maintenance process. Okay, so in order to come out with the components of the components of the building maintenance, all right. So the AicE-Bs model of competency has been chosen, whereby 3 elements have been incorporated, okay, which is knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Okay, so from the literature review that have been conducted, okay, 9 components have been found with 40 elements. Okay, this is the components that have been generated from the literature review. For example, Sharia knowledge, risk management knowledge, communication skills, technical skill, physical state, Islamic managerial skills, Islamic ethics and values, maintenance evaluation knowledge, and maintenance planning knowledge. Okay, and 40 others elements. Okay, so however, all of these could be suitable, okay, to develop components for the building maintenance competencies. Okay, and maybe some of that is not suit. So how to look into that? So an analysis have been conducted by using content validation analysis, okay, to identify which components and elements that is not meet the requirement to be taking off, okay, before we proceed to the questionnaire preparations, questionnaire collections. All right. Okay, so through the analysis, all right, with this 9 components and 40 elements that have been gathered from the literature review, okay, 2 elements have been excluded, okay, to be proceed, which is negotiation skills, because it shows the weak result, so we take out this. And also another one, justice and equal. Okay, so weak. So because of it is shows a weak indicator, so we take out this and not to be proceed for the questionnaire development lah. Alright. So okay. So at the end, the components, 6 components, 9 components and 38 elements have been proceeds, okay, to the questionnaire developments. Alright. So as the conclusions, okay, this study demonstrates the content validity assessment to explain the relevancy of the items through a quantitative review of the expert panels. The initial phase of the process is identifying the competencies, components of building maintenance management for wakaf-based religious schools by adapting and adopting the previous research. The process proceeds good recommendation from the experts, and the final construct was modified based on the quantitative results of content validity. 2 elements of components were eliminated. Okay, measuring the competencies, components of building maintenance management provide the opportunity for improvement and skills development among wakaf-based school administrators. It indirectly acts as an educational and instructional tool for continuous learning, training, and development. Okay, so that's all.
Thank you.
Huh?
You can raise that.
Okay.
You go. Okay, thank you, Nurul Shahida, for the presentation. Right. So I'd like to open up to the floor for question and answers. Not only the floor, but people from the crowd. Online, please. Anybody? Any question? Yes, no? It's very clear, right? No problem. Okay, maybe I'd like to ask a little bit question. Do you have a comparison between the conventional, because this is the Wakaf-based religious school? How about, do you referring to other conventional school, for example? No, in terms of maybe the monetary value or something like that, or effectiveness of the, in terms of ethics, in terms of something like that. Is there any difference between the conventional school and the Wakaf-based religious school?
Different one, of course, from the Wakaf school, the Tawhidic approach, the maintenance of the building, the Wakaf land themselves has been aligned with the purpose of the development. And then the school of Wakaf also has been developed using to the niat towards Allah intention. Compared with conventional schools, we don't know whether the intention to develop the school is that they are, I think they are put the niat towards Allah. This is the main principles that have to be based before we develop this school. That's why we are focusing on Wakaf school, because the Wakaf school themselves has been portraying many challenges to maintenance costs, to development costs, and they are not in line of the national agenda actually. Compared to the conventional schools, they are getting more funding from the government. That's why the moral value, the ethic value is the same, but then the principle themselves.
Okay. Because sometimes you want, towards the end, you want to check the effectiveness, maybe in terms of ethical, in terms of something else, but maybe my bias on the monetary I'm talking about, right? How much money you got to put aside for that, so to make sure the successful of the project, something like that. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, actually, I'm more onto the perspective of the administrators.
Speak louder.
Administrators, the government agencies or the policies maker, where they stand on this, when it comes to the development of the school administrators, because it seems like it's totally managed by different entities. Like for the government school, and also the separate school. So how should you as the researcher move forward in terms of addressing this issue to the policies, the governments, decision makers, and also definitely the Kementerian Pendidikan.
Actually, the fundamental philosophies when government develop the religious schools, it is because of Article 11. Agama is religious is state matter. That's the basic fundamental that has been settled first. Because state matter, as same as land state matter, it is state problem. That's why Kementerian, our government, national government, cannot enter easily, cannot involve directly. That's what is the main problem. That's why this Wakaf schools is left behind compared to our schools.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, any more? Okay. All right, okay, thank you for Nurul Shahida for presentation, and of course, the City Nadia, okay, for the answer to the questions. All right, thanks again. So, everyone, we move forward. I think we have a new this year, Yon Shafni. Yon Shafni? Okay. Okay, please come to the stage. Okay, should be presenting the paper entitled Bergendang. Bergendang and its relationship with the concept of home in Sarawak Malay culture. That's quite interesting. Together with her co-author Skandar, Skandar Arifin, Nurul Akmal Abdullah, and John H.S. Tink. Right. Okay, please proceed when you are ready.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum, marhaba, bonjour, and good afternoon to everyone. I am Yon Shafin Samad. I am actually an architect, but I teach architecture in Universiti Malaysia Sarawak, Faculty of Built Environment. Currently, I am on my study leave to do my PhD at Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. So today for my presentation, I will bring you guys again to Borneo, to the land of Hornbill, where I will be sharing and discuss about the connection of environment-behaviour study with the built environment, which is specifically on the traditional houses of the Sarawak Malay. I will also share the unique culture of Bergendang, which is a musical performance distinct to the Malay Sarawak, and how this lifestyle relates to the spaces in their houses, which are the traditional houses. A little bit of background. Malaysia is divided into two regions, and Sarawak is located on the east of Malaysia, which is indicated at the orange color on the map. So the Malay is the major ethnic in Malaysia, and however there is a common misconception in Malaysia that all Malays are the same. However, the Malay in Sarawak also has been regarded as the same as the Malay in the Malay Peninsula, which is on the west of Malaysia, as you can see here. Growing up in a mixed parentage background, mixed parentage household, where my father is a Sarawak Malay, while my mother is a Malay from Selangor, I noticed that there is distinct cultural differences in both of the Malay groups. Even though they share similar Islamic teaching and so on, their culture are different. And when I go back to the both kampong, I can also see the differences in architecture as well. So I think the common misconception of that all Malays are the same are the one that making the study of architecture of the Sarawak Malay makes the researcher very little studied by past researchers. That is what I discovered during my study period. So this spurs my curiosity in finding what is unique about the Sarawak Malay, especially on the culture and how this relates to the traditional home. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, so the house in traditional societies are the most common and most culturally impacted vernacular product. So the variability in house form, as you can see here, in Peninsular Malaysia, although they are from the same Malay group, they have variations in terms of house form, which is the shape of the house, the architecture. And also, the Sarawak Malay also have different house form, but it is not really highlighted before. Therefore, it invites the question, what could possibly causing this variability in terms of architecture and house form. This is where environment-behaviour study comes in, where I studied a lot on Amos Rappaport writings, where he identifies that cultural variable could be the thing that influencing the house form, vernacular product. So the variability in house form, as you can see here, in Peninsular Malaysia, although they are from the same Malay group, they have variations in terms of house form, which is the shape of the house, the architecture. And also, the Sarawak Malay also have different house form, but it is not really highlighted before. Therefore, it invites the question, what could possibly causing this variability in terms of architecture and house form? This is where Environment-Behaviour Study comes in, where I studied a lot on Amos Rappaport writings, where he identifies that cultural variable could be the thing that influencing the house form. Culture is the determining factor. Other factors like material and resources are the restraining factor that cause differences in house form. But culture is actually the thing that determines the house form. As you can see here, the houses there are some of the houses are from Kelantan and Melaka and also Perak. It is distinct. It is different from what we have here in Sarawak. As a culture, as a cultural concept, it is abstract. We cannot see culture, but we can. Culture can be observable in terms of when we look at the lifestyle of people. Sarawak Malay have different cultural lifestyle, and it is reflected on the spaces inside their houses. So when I study more on the culture of Sarawak Malay and discuss on the interview the house occupants of the traditional houses, I found out that there is a distinct and unique culture of the Sarawak Malay, which is called bergendang. Bergendang is it comes from the word gendang, which is a musical instrument made from goat skin and hardwood. It is gendang is a performance. Bergendang culture, it is actually a musical performance held at home during social gatherings, such as berkatan, weddings, especially when you like housewarming. Every social gatherings they have bergendang. So this makes me wonder if this is such a thing that often frequently happening in the culture of Sarawak Malay, there must be some relation with the spaces inside the houses. So I look into that further, and actually bergendang, and maybe some of you don't know much about it. In the more traditional setting before the 1960s, bergendang is held where the environment is socializing between male and female are not like now. They are more restricted, more confined. So the girls didn't go to school, only the boys. So during bergendang, it is a chance for the girls and boys to meet, but not meeting like face to face. They are a distant encounter. So if you can see the middle image, the gendang is played, it's beaten by seh gendang, 2 or 3 of them. They are professional gendang people. They do beat the gendang while singing a pantun, and this pantun contain a message. And they play the gendang at the back of a tabir. Tabir is a cloth partition, makeshift partition, and there's like two partition. One hanging from the ground until the eye level, and the other one is from the forehead to the up. So it leaves only like 1 to 2 inches of opening for them to see. So at the back of the seh gendang, the female drummer, the lady maidens who sit at the back of seh gendang. So they are hidden from view. So the first image is actually the female dancer, the penanda we call it. They dance or bertanda in front of the makeshift partition. So they can only see the girls from a little slit of 1 to 2 inches. That's how they, like bertemu jodoh, meet their future husband. But that is why the bermukun is important. Bermukun is the exchanging of the pantun between the seh gendang and the penanda, the male dancers. So the pantun contains the message the penanda wants to send to the maiden. So the seh gendang is actually a messenger. Okay, so
3 more minutes.
Okay. The next is the video. How difficult gendang. This is actually the new gendang Melayu, where there is no tabir anymore, and it is conducted at the new house model of Sarawak Malay. This is the penanda. The penanda wear a topping because he is shy. So sometimes he is called the nopeng, the mask dancers. Okay. So the objective of this study, it aims to investigate the relationship of begendang with the spatial use inside the house, which corresponds to the house form, because the space actually denotes the house form later on. It is conducted by fieldwork and interview along the Sarawak River settlement, which is one of the old Malay settlements in Sarawak with the highest population of Malay. If you have ever been to Sarawak, this is actually at the Kuching waterfront. Opposite of the Kuching waterfront is the Kampung Seberang Hilir and Hulu, which has the kek lapis and ikan terubuk masin and so on. But near the Kuching waterfront is actually Kampung Datu, much more organized Malay settlement because it was given to the Brooke's government official, the Malays during Brooke dynasty. So the findings indicate that there are two significant spatial layout, which is the the floor plans of the houses, the traditional houses. The first one is the early model, the houses built between 1860s and 1920s. It is very simple. It has a tengah, which is like the rumah ibu in Malay Peninsula houses, and the luar, which is like serambi in Malay Peninsula houses. So sometimes the houses have a veranda, which is quite long and very in size. The second significant spatial layout is the later model, which are the houses built around 1930s and 1960s. So different houses have different quality and different sizes according to the social status of the house owner, the original house owner.
You may conclude.
Conclude? Okay. Comparison of the early model houses and the later model indicate that there is actually a passage to attic at the early model houses. This is actually a narrow and steep staircase to go to the attic. Attic in Malay Sarawak we call padong. The padong is actually occupiable in Sarawak Malay houses. So that is why some of the houses have very exaggeratedly high hip roof. It's like a mountainous looking roof houses. And if you can see, the blue color is the passage to the attic, while the round dot is actually atrium. You know, atrium in shopping mall we have these high volume spaces, double volume spaces. In Sarawak Malay houses we have that. At the attic floor there is a hole, and then the hole is surrounded by balustrade, like a railing. Yeah. It's actually a place. The padong is actually a place for the girls, the orang dara, to sit because they want to protect the ladies from being seen by the male guests when during social gatherings. So these are the peeping gallery, we call it. These houses have peeping gallery, and these houses are some of the houses of the influential Malays during olden times. This is a sectional cut in architectural drawing. If you can see, the peeping gallery is a yellow color. All the maidens are on top, and the begendang is conducted at the tengah, behind the tabir. So basically the peeping gallery is to protect the lady maidens from view, but it is giving the lady maidens a view of the penanda and to see their future husband, something like that. Some of the house occupants say that if you want to get jodoh early and fast, you can sit at the back of the tabir so that the female dancers can see you and, I don't know, like communicate using the second gendang. So these are the comparison of the roof height between the early model houses and the later model houses, which shows that the early model houses have really high hip roof to possibly accommodate the peeping gallery and the height. The height of the padong is actually like 3 meters high, so it's a very massive space and comfortable for, you know, like conducting guest lady maidens and so on. And if you can see the later model houses, when the environment is changing, like there's not much restriction on mingling of between different sexes. Yeah, you can like the begendang is no longer needed the peeping gallery or the padong because the male can mix with the female. So there is a different feature which is the ruang teko at the front here, where the gendang is conducted there. So to conclude, finally, the changes in environment also affect the behavior of the people, and also this relate to the houses. That's why some features of the early model houses are no longer evident in the later model houses. But however, this also making the identity of the very exaggeratedly high hip roof of Sarawak Malay houses gradually dissolve, and we no longer see that. So I recommend future studies on the spaces of the Sarawak Malay houses in other regions. We have like a lot of rivers, and Malay always live on rivers because we are traders. We are not farmers, Sarawak Malay. So yeah, that's all I say. Thank you.
For the 8 minutes extra.
I treat you, Tajin.
Okay, actually it's an interesting topic, but then you have to condense. Okay, I open up to the floor. Any question? Any comments?
Any curiosity?
Okay. Anybody? Yes, please.
Your name, please? Abdullah.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you for this rich presentation. My question concerns did you consider in your research that there would be, or there have been, some influence from previous civilizations, maybe from colonizer, the British or the Dutch, on the housing systems or styles in Malaysia, like the case here in Morocco, for example, especially in Marrakech? We have that the typical buildings in Marrakech were riyads, where beauty should just be inside, but it is influenced now in the urban areas that you find just the Roman style of building, villas, which is a different style that has to go with the culture of people. But yet, we find in Marrakech particularly that there's a change in buildings, but the culture stays the same. For example, like people in Marrakech live in villas, but with the spirit of traditional people who live in Riyadh. So do you think it's going to be the same here in the Malaysian building style? Thank you.
Yes, I do think that because some of the houses of the early model, they have these features like the elongated veranda. Veranda is not common in Malay architecture because veranda is something that is from European, like the Brooks are from, the Brooks is the colonizer of Sarawak, right? So he brought the British influence to Sarawak, and to have the veranda in the early model houses are some of the influence from colonizers. And also, it is not portrayed in my presentation. There's actually, Sarawak Malay house has another distinct feature, which is a balcony. A small balcony attached to the houses, which I see in Malay Peninsula. There is no balcony such as this. So it is highly possible that the balcony is also influenced from the colonizer. But however, they use the balcony to dry their clothes and stuff like that. So yeah, it needs to be investigated further. Anyone else have any comments? It would be really valuable.
Yes, anyone else? Online?
Yes.
Yeah. Louder, please. Come to the class. Louder. Yeah, you speak louder.
My question is because currently more and more modern houses in urban cities, they are actually adopting this traditional design for different purposes. It could be when you mentioned about the attic for that kind of purposes, but currently because of the global warming, it's going to be very warm, and I've seen that more and more people actually opted to have attic in the modern house. Could be these changing lifestyles previously for serving for different purposes, and perhaps some people do have the sentiment of traditional houses. They would actually to keep this kind of design. So, to your opinion, is it would be possible this kind of design could be merged in the new kind of form of structure to suit to the next generation?
Thank you for the question. I think it's really important to continue the the unique feature of the attic and so on into the modern houses, because that is how we portray our identity, and that is how we are different from others. Right now, Sarawak Kuching especially, they are having a resettlement scheme for the villages, on these villages, to a new development like terrace houses, bungalow houses. But the design are really, this is on the internet, it's really not having any identity, and it features rainwater downpour all over the houses. So they didn't bring the identity back. So that is why I think my research could further investigate the speciality and the identity of Sarawak Malay houses, so that we can implement this identity to be carried on to modern houses. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yon.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I'd like to add a few things. Just, no question. Just actually, it's interesting. I mean, the topic is interesting, but it's quite big. That's why you have to narrow down. For example, you're talking about the development or adaptation. That's what Rohana mentioned just now. We're talking about the traditional and the future with aspect of meditating. If you want to relate to environment and architecture, for example, maybe in terms of proportion. If you saw your section just now, that means the peeping gallery or something like that is too small. Alright, for example, maybe that's that thing what aspect you have to focus on, but later on. Maybe from this idea you can have maybe 4 or 5 papers easily, I think, right? So like what Mr. Abdullah raised, what sort of influential, because sometimes you say Malay, but then we talk about Malay, sometimes with intermarriage, something like that, maybe there's a certain development. Maybe that's aspect you want to find out, right? So that's why you have got enough time to present, right? So you mind, just take that one as a reminder or advice for your future presentation, right? So next,
so first of all, is just see what is cinema-induced tourism. Actually, cinema-induced tourism is a type of tourism that falls under the umbrella of cultural tourism, and it means traveling to see places featured in films or in TV shows, or anything related to film. It could also be visiting houses of celebrities or following the footsteps of celebrities. Cinema-induced tourism also it's very famous in Morocco, because Morocco is famous for tourism, as it is ranked second in Africa in terms of tourism, and also it is famous for production of many blockbusters. For example, speak about the films that were filmed in the region of Ouarzazate, like the Game of Thrones, which was recently, like The Mummy, Gladiators, and many other films. So that's why Morocco is considered as a crossland for both cinema and tourism, which means that it is a good opportunity to be a destination for cinema-induced tourism. This cinema-induced tourism is an emerging niche of tourism that it was defined and identified in the 90s, but this phenomena was very old, okay? And there's a debate among researchers to define the exact beginning of this type of tourism. And Connell, for example, states that this started with Vertigo of Alfred Hitchcock, which says that the film of Vertigo attracted people to visit San Francisco. But the other authors like Boland and Kernow said that this phenomenon started years before that. It was mainly with White Man by John Ford that attracted visitors to captive Mayon Island. In the literature review of our research, we found that cinema could be a very important tool for marketing and also creating images, okay, and imaging for tourists. Okay, can you get closer? Okay, all right, thank you. So, also that's because cinema reinforces visitors' perception of destinations. It could create new images, or also change old images about destinations. The literature also showed that there is difference between the impact created by films, but it states that mainly Hollywood movies have the strongest impact on visitors. And also, in literature, we found out that there is a great increase in number of tourists thanks to cinema in many destinations in the world, particularly the example of New Zealand, which was famous for the Lord of the Rings, which is a very famous trilogy, and also Scotland and Ireland because of the film of Braveheart and others. This increase of number of tourists related to cinema-induced tourism was also accompanied by increase in research on this niche of tourism. This increase of research was mainly in the impacts of cinema in marketing, using cinema as a subtle way to advertise for destinations and create images about destinations. And in this research, we are meant to explore the cinema-induced tourism as an emerging field of research in Morocco, and what are the major trends in this research, major research areas, and also what are the major findings in cinema-induced tourism in Morocco. For this reason, we opted for a narrative review approach. First, we collected data references using reputed databases, and also using the keywords in French, both in French and English. And for this research, we have no specification in terms of dates, or we have no study type restrictions, because we want to try to use all forms of writings that speak about cinema-induced tourism in Morocco. We put those articles and references into chronological order, and we extracted the themes. We come up with discussion, conclusions, and recommendations. Among the findings, the first findings, quantitative findings, we have found only 14 relevant references, 1 book, 9 articles, 1 conference paper, and 3 PhD theses. So we have a very limited number of references that spoke about cinema-induced tourism in Morocco. And concerning the quality, we find that Morocco is mainly associated with Casablanca, the film Casablanca, rather than any other films in literature. The film was filmed in 1943 by Michael Cortez, And also there is a very limited recognition of WoS-indexed, which is named Hollywood of Africa. It is not recognized as a destination for cinema-induced tourism in Morocco, though it's potential. And also we have found that there is an important position for cinema-induced tourism on the national level, the importance of national films to induce tourism inside Morocco. And also we have found that films can provide residents with a positive view of their town, like it reinforces the pride, okay, in addition to attracting other tourists, it reinforces the pride of the locals. And also we have found out that the cinema is not well exploited in Morocco in terms of tourism, in terms of promoting tourism. In our discussion, we found that as I said, that Rex Cafe, which is a fictitious space or location in a film of Casablanca, that was very famous in Morocco, and it is a peculiar phenomenon of cinema-induced tourism because the film was not filmed in Morocco, and the Rex Cafe, which is built in Casablanca 60 years after the premiere of the film, but yet it attracts people and tourists who really feel nostalgia and want to live those moments they lived in the past. I'm speaking about the generation of the 50s. So, which means that this film, though it was not filmed in Morocco, it attracts more tourists, more than films that were like filmed in Morocco, like Gladiator and like Game of Thrones, as I said. There's also, in our discussion, we find that it is important for a film to be successful, to succeed in order to attract visitors. And also, there is the debate mentioned concerning the beginning of cinema-induced tourism. We found that Casablanca was the first phenomena of cinema-induced tourism, not the films mentioned, Vertigo or The Quiet Man, mentioned in literature.
You have 3 more minutes.
Okay. All right. So, WoS-indexed is not recognized as a cinema-induced tourism destination because it's not associated only with one particular film. It is a studio for different films. That's why whenever a tourist want to think about WoS-indexed, doesn't think about a specific film, like for example the case of the film of Casablanca or any other film which relates only to one destination. In conclusion, we found out that there is a dearth of research in this area. It is very limited research. And also the dominant theme is cinema-induced tourism as a prolific field of creativity and sustainable development. And also we found out that any location is a potential destination that waits for a filmmaker's touch, means whatever, any destination could be any location could be a potential destination. There is also a need for advertising for us to enhance the effect of cinema, because, for example, WoS-indexed is very famous for films, but it needs a kind of advertising in order to make it attractive more for cinema-induced tourists. The national cinema also develops domestic cinema-induced tourism in Morocco. It has very important potential in attracting local tourists. And also we have that national films do not only attract like Moroccans, local tourists, but it also generate nostalgia among Moroccans of diaspora to attract them to come to visit their country. And recommendation we came up with, we need to focus on a competitive benchmarking, comparing the Moroccan experience versus global success stories, given the example of New Zealand particularly. Enhance collaborative planning that connects cinematographic and hospitality management industries. There should be collaboration and synergy between these two industries to come up with a very a very important product in terms of cinema-induced tourism. And also, we should optimize customer experience in target destination by valorizing the social media feedback from visitors. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah,
Yeah.
okay, for the interesting presentation and the topic as well. Right. So I'd like to open to the floor for Q&A first. And anyone from all over the world, online?
And,
Yeah, Amy.
actually, I have two set of questions. One is from the, my standpoint is just neutral, I guess. One is from the film directors. One of the famous Bollywood film director, if you got to know Yash Chopra.
What's his name?
Yash Chopra.
Yash Chopra.
Yash Chopra, yeah. He introduced the revolutionized Bollywood romantic film. And he photographed or film all over the world, including Europe, yeah. For example, Geneva and all those famous countries in the world. Definitely London and the rest.
The film, or is this in a specific film?
There are many films actually by
Many films.
Many films. If
Yes.
you just Google up Yash Chopra, there are many romantic Hindustan films.
Yes.
Film all over the world actually. Especially Europe.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is that, or my point of view is that this film producer or director brought the culture from the country of origin, which is
From India.
From India, yeah. So from that point, gives us the viewers, yeah. When we're watching the romantic films, we feel like we want to travel to that part of the world.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is the downside is that when we want to travel to those parts of the countries, it's quite costly. Definitely, it's costly. And so even to the extent that when you talk about Casablanca and definitely some islands in Thailand, okay, those islands also quite expensive for us, yeah. This the normal travelers, yeah, we can't afford much to travel unless we save fortune.
Yes, of course.
So from that stand of view, from the filmmaker side, yes, definitely is an opportunity for the countries, yeah, to develop through this film or cinema tourism.
Yeah.
Okay, from the perspective of the normal travelers like me, I feel that going to all these places, introduced by the film directors, film producers, is definitely cost me a bomb. So what is your stand on that? For us to go, instead of just going there just to watch, for example, New Zealand for the movies, yeah, Lord of the Rings, and also to England. How should we? Or what do you think actually, on our side?
Yeah.
It seems like disadvantage for me, or for rest of us to travel.
From the perspective of the traveler.
Yeah, travelers, yeah, like normal travelers, we don't have.
Yeah.
We want to travel, but if film producers keep on dominating all these places, introducing films, it can cost a bomb for us normal travelers.
Travelers. Well, there's one thing among like film producers when they film or when they choose to shoot a film in a place, they don't think about tourism. That's what I found in literature, that they have no idea, like they don't think about tourism in the first place. They think about a beautiful place that would make the scenery beautiful, that would attract a viewer to watch the film. Because their primary product is their film. It means they're not doing any advertisement for a destination. That's the first thing. But still, even if they don't think like directly that they're doing advertisement for a destination, they're doing it in a subtle way. It means through what we call the product placement. Product placement is when we through some kind of an advertisement inside a movie that would be subtle, it attracts more, and it has a bigger effect more than a direct advertisement. Because a direct advertisement, it's natural. It means nobody would watch an advertisement with, for example, on purpose. Okay, but in a film, they weave it with your emotions. As you said, for example, I've watched some of those Indian films, for example, that I remember there's one that comes to my mind, I think it's for Shah Rukh Khan, I think. So it was filmed in Finland.
Oh, the one, there is the 2000...
Yes, there was snow, there was a snow place, there are big mountains. So the director didn't think about me like traveling there, but he thought about me like liking the scenery. That was his purpose. So for me, for example, I would want to travel to that place because it was waved with my emotions while I was watching. It means I was watching, I fell in love with the story, with the actors, with the songs, with the music, and then the beauty of the place went into my imagination, deep into my heart. So it changes my behavior. It means I want to travel there. But if it was in a form of a direct advertisement, nobody would really think about that. But it is very important. It means they do a service for the traveler, as well as for the producer, as well as for the destination. It means it's a win-win for everyone. And also because watching a destination in a film, it's more than, it is a little bit authentic, more than advertisement, because this advertisement, there's a purpose. It means somebody like all the time beautifies something to sell. It's just for selling, which means that they don't give you the truth. They don't give you the reality. For example, if you watch advertisement about Malaysia or about Morocco, as advertisement, you will see something different. But if you watch it in a movie, it's something different. It is and also it could be negative things sometimes. Like for example, the reputation of Thailand in Hollywood movies. It could play, a negative impact again. So all the time we need to pay attention to these two things. Could be positive, could be negative. That's why in my research I was always think that a collaboration between cinema managers and tourism managers is important. For example, before filming something, I should know what is going to be filmed. What is the image that's going to be vehicled for travelers to my country? And by the way, because in Marrakech, the reputation in Marrakech is ruined by many films that say that it's full of thieves, for example. Like wherever you go, like thieves are everywhere. But well, this image comes from films. Like generally comes from films. But in reality, I don't know.
Yeah, that comes to the second part where when I want to come here, I check all the vlogs, YouTube and stuff like that. It's totally different from the film.
Yes.
Okay, the experience from film.
Yes.
But, so how do you see this? When YouTubers vlogs, people are experiencing their traveling.
Yes.
Okay, as compared to the
films.
Yeah.
Well, it's a form of filming because it's a show. All right, but this type of shows, they have a purpose. It means the purpose is to share. It is viewer-generated like information. It means there's somebody who was there and he generated this information for somebody else to benefit from. It's like this kind of, for example, TripAdvisor, for example, or travelogues or the vlogs, all types of information or sources of information. But these, I don't really following this kind of information, because sometimes some people would like to make what they see as interesting. For example, somebody would make his or her travel to Marrakech as an adventure. It means some people would invent things to make it as if I've been to whatever, to a jungle and then be brave. Some people would like to do something like to show. It's not to give value to the place, but to give value to themselves. Like for example, I would say that I've been to Thailand, and they came from Thailand. I would share some kind of crazy stories, and they would exaggerate a little bit to make things interesting, to make more followers. So it's,
to get all the likes.
yeah, it's just to generate more followers. So maybe it's not the truth, but I would trust, for example, somebody who does not, who is not interested in me watching that for another purpose. And the film director is that person, because he doesn't care about who is going to travel there. He may give you an image, but this is another story. He doesn't really care about what is going to happen after that. So I would trust this one.
One more question. I thought there's three questions. Okay, anybody else? It's an interesting topic.
Thank you, right? Thank you so much.
Again, and then of course the answer is varies, right? For example, because we cannot satisfy everybody, because some people, for example, for me, like to go to see buildings, historical or something like that. Some people more like shopping. And some do like eating, right? They are looking for the good food or something like that. So that is right. So maybe this is the because to control the picture, for example. I don't know whether there's a body or agency or authority to control what they produce, what they publish, or else people can just publish anything, right? As long they attract the tourists. Okay, they don't care about how much. That's why sometimes they don't spell out what is the cost, for example, right? What's depend. Right? So again, if you like to discuss further, you can see Mr. Abdullah. Yeah? Right. Okay, I think we are pressure for time. So I'd like to invite the last person. Assuming, I'm not sure whether there's more. Okay. So I'd like to invite Shaiman Ulud. Okay. Is co-author Rashid Adali to present her paper entitled Tourist Environmental Behavior related to Mr. Abdul Qadir. Okay. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chairman, honorable guests, welcome to Marrakech, virtual guests. So, not very far from what has been presented by Mr. Taibi, also related to tourism, I'm going to present my paper entitled Tourist Environmental Behavior and Narrative Review, with the co-author, my professor Rashid Adali. So we're going to move forward with our presentation by presenting the background. So we all know that tourism is one of the most important industries in the world. So it presents significant economic benefits, as we can see in the triangle, but it also presents significant risk factors, such as environmental negative impacts and social negative impacts. We also have costs, but it has a kind of relationship that is presented as a feedback loop with the climate change. So climate change, it affects tourism, and tourism affects climate change at the same time. Talking about the awareness, the importance of sustainable tourism and having aware green tourists, according to Statistica 2022 statistics, we have 19% of tourists, they do not believe sustainable travel is important worldwide, while 81% they believe that sustainable travel is important worldwide, which is an important percentage. But what is more important is to see how this percentage is seen in practice in tourist behaviors. So the aims of this study is to highlight the environmental sustainability in the present day scenarios, to emphasize on both the need for travelers to be more environmentally conscious and the importance of reducing tourism's environmental effects, as well as identifying contextual variables that influence tourist behaviors in destinations, to know what is those factors and how we can implement them in creating policies and programs that help in reducing the negative behavior impacts on the environment. So there is an essential need actually to reduce the negative impacts of tourist behaviors, there's also a need to identify who are green tourists and why they behave in such a way. So we have a definition by Buckley in 2009. He defines green tourists as tourists who demonstrate awareness and concern for the environment, but they also make efforts to minimize and to reduce the negative impacts towards the environment. We can see these green behaviors such as minimizing waste, to conserve water, and to also support green businesses such as eco-lodges in choosing a destination, or also helping or supporting businesses that do recycling, for example, or reducing the buying of one single-use items. This was a very hard factor in COVID-19 because with the restrictions and the measures that we had, the buying of one-use items raised, which is totally normal, so we cannot judge on that. So the methodology that was used for this article is a narrative review. We reviewed articles in journals such as Journal Sustainable Tourism, Tourism Management and Annals for Tourism Research, who are indexed journals and highly ranked. So we have different studies such as empirical research, literature review, and examinations of daily behaviors. So the timeline for these studies were from 2017 until 2022. And also the language that was chosen is the English language, so articles only in English. And they were relevant necessarily to the topic. So these articles and studies, they provided valuable insights into the role of these factors, influential factors in tourist environmental behavior. We have three main studies that supported at least 3 or more factors. We have the first factor is the level of knowledge and awareness. We have also attitudes and values towards the environment, the personal, social, and perceived level of control over behavior. We have also the image of destination as environmentally friendly. So this is also supported by a theory in architecture, which is the broken window theory, which assumes that when visiting a destination, tourists, when they actually see a broken window or a wall with graffiti, they don't respect the destination as much, and they don't act accordingly as green tourists. So this perceived image about the destination helps them build an image about the destination, and they act according to this image they have. So if they are in, for example, a green destination or a destination that serves as I would say a sustainable destination, they would act in a green way. And we also have demographic and economic factors. So the concept of green, we have these factors presented and the level of responsibility and what they lead to. We have environmental knowledge and awareness. They all lead to sustainable tourism practices. The destination image and personal and social norms, they all affect sustainable tourism practices. So here I wanted to talk about the concept of green behavior tourism. So it actually had gained significant importance in recent years with the ongoing discussions on the characterization of green tourists and their impacts. So this actually affected the factors that are related to the sustainable practices. So here we have the levels on which the destination could act on. Actually, it's the responsibility of tourists, governments, and also businesses that they can all make green choices, not only the tourists. So here in this article, it's true that we tackle only the tourists' responsibility, but also this could impact the tourist choice of making these green attitudes towards the destination. So for the recommendation, I recommend further research in this impact of factors, also to measure these factors on impacts in the practice, and to actually have more statistics, because when we first started, we can see that there is a belief that sustainable tourism is very important, but when we see in practice, it is not really clear in the literature or in the studies. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma, for the interesting and informative review. Okay, I open the floor for Q&A. Jimmy, for Rohana. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. My question is, a lot of people have desire to go towards environmental initiative and so on, but in reality they don't do that. Even though down deep in their heart they wanted to do it, they wanted to support and so on, but in practice it's not so. So what are, you mentioned about some of the factors in terms of knowledge, awareness and so on. What are the other factors that you think that can be stronger variables that we can influence tourists? Because I think now tourists are more aware towards animal cruelty. So for example, if there is example in Thailand, for example, we know that the animal has been badly treated, so people, the society can actually encourage tourists not to go towards that kind of activities. Okay, so now more and more people support that kind of initiative. And when it comes to green environment, how actually what are the factors you think would influence people, perhaps in terms of their emotional or cognitive and so on, influence tourists to adapt and to practice this kind of practices?
Yes. Actually, your contribution is very valuable because you tackle a very sensitive point, which is animal cruelty and personal choices that we make. Because it is hard for tourists to stop themselves from having a unique experience while they travel, to not actually harm the environment. So they always prefer to make these personal choices to make their experience a great one, and not really care about animal cruelty, even if they are aware about it or they are knowledgeable about it. Actually, it is to become less individualistic. I think we should support more, I think, programs that they have more interesting experiences than these that actually surrounds animals, or they have like those trips to go and see the dolphins, etc., which is harmful. So we should have experiences that would replace those exciting experiences that are very triggering and very attractive. And from another point, I guess also the economic side of it judges or it limits the tourist choice, because, for example, if we are to choose products that are not that are animal free, etc., they are usually more expensive. So this economic side also sometimes it limits our choices. And also the brands are aware of that, so they tackle this point to make their branding more expensive and more luxurious. It's bio, it's animal cruelty free, etc. So it's more of business, and even the impact of this is to actually attract more tourists for a green destination, which falls into mass tourism again. So it's like a vicious circle.
Perhaps I would like to add on more. So for example, countries like Singapore, they are very strict in terms of regulation. So in a way, actually it pushed whoever actually, whether the residents or tourists, to follow certain rules. And perhaps we can different as well. In Malaysia, for example, wherever we offer discount, something free, in return for the good behavior, perhaps people will adopt that kind of.
Yeah, Singapore is a great example, and they are self-sufficient when it comes to these policies. For Morocco, I think we're a little bit lagging behind, but we are going towards this strategy.
I'd like to give my point of view on the Sempurna Island. If you get to know Sempurna Island, it's famous for snorkeling and scuba diving.
Yeah.
But apparently, those corals are massively destroyed. By flock of tourists from many countries. I don't want to name the countries, but one of the countries, they flock Sempurna, and somehow the corals cannot survive. So when we relate to the green tourists, how do you see this? What should we do actually from the tourist part? I think tourists, they just want to go to the island and do what they want to do. But on the the tour operators, they want the tourists to come.
Exactly. So everyone wants
they don't really
to
emphasize on
their
the
own.
green. I don't think they emphasize on the green. Saving the coral, don't step on the corals, don't dive there, don't hurt the turtles. I don't think they, because I experienced it. I've seen so many corals being destroyed.
That's why I talked about having experiences that would replace those exciting experiences, but without harming the environment. Because I believe that we can do that without compromising the environment or even local community. Like the local community, sometimes they are not prepared for this huge amount of tourists. For example, like some areas are very fragile, so they are not prepared for all of that, all this cultural diversity, and they are well closed, they have their own culture, they have their proper space, it's very private, and all of a sudden, for example, even the example that Mr. Taibi gave about tourism-induced cinema, whereas it is a very fragile place, their local community is very, I would say, restricted from a lot of things. So if the local community is not actually benefiting directly from this tourism, what is actually the good side of it? So it's not only animals, it's also the local community, it's the whole composition. So I think the example of Singapore is really great. So the country should have like a strict policy, but also have great experiences, for example, that are directed towards cultural monuments like museums, like tours, buildings, architecture. There are a lot of things to see other than harming the environment.
So what do you think about the camels rides in Morocco? I somehow feel that I'm guilty riding the camels, yeah?
Yes.
Because the camels, they non-stop carrying tourists.
Not only with camels, but we can see it in general now with monkeys, with snakes. There are a lot of things that are here. I'm not saying it is perfect, so there are a lot of things that we should fix. Exactly. Yeah, I think we should work on that. We have a long journey to go.
But that's part of the tourist attraction.
Exactly.
This part of the world.
Everywhere, not only in Morocco, but here in
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
I don't experience, so I'm confused, kind of confusing how to protect the animals' environment.
While having a unique, it's just be less selfish. Yeah.
Okay, please, I have one question.
Yes.
One question. Because I was thinking this is what you've said is beautiful, but it's a bit utopian. But my question is, how do you think this would be the implications of that in reality?
So it is very important, even, yes, you said it is very positive, optimistic, but the implications is to push the policymakers to take these factors that I presented and incorporate them into their policies. Because, for example, the image of the destinations, actually the countries, they can work on that. They can work on the destination, they can work on its reputation, they can work on the protection of the environment, the signals, everything. So this would actually encourage tourists to protect and to at least respect, if they are not green tourists, with the definition I gave earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add on, it's not a question. Actually, your topic is quite general because you don't refer to any specific country. Yeah, so the outcome or maybe the finding will be a bit general. Maybe you can focus on certain, then only you know how to react or how to improve the situation. For example, if Jimmy just now is referring to Singapore, for example, maybe the enforcement, right? Enforcement. Like in Malaysia, we have a lot of ideas, but the enforcement is not. That's why we don't really succeed. Okay, so that sort of thing. Right? For example, the camel, they got hard work. The moment we give good food, better food. Alright. Okay. Another thing is, for example, how to make a successful project, something like that. Maybe in terms of facilities, the standard of facilities being provided. Sometimes we know we want to have a sustainable environment, something like that, but the facility is not proper. For example, the availability of dustbin, the signage. Sometimes I don't want to talk about that. I lost in the airport, for example, because the signage is quite not that good. So in fact, I go round and round. I don't want to mention the country. Okay. Anyway, I think we have concluded the first breakout one. We saw called breakout one for today. Okay. Before we end the session and break for lunch, now our lunch will be shortened by half an hour. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so you have 30 minutes for your breakfast. I'd like to congratulate. Lunch. I would like to congratulate all the presenters with very interesting and relevant topics. All right, and to all those who are participated in the question and answer. Right, and give a loud round of applause to all and also those in the comfort of their home. Maybe they just observing and listening, not really participating. It's okay. All right. All right. So we have listened to 6 wonderful papers. Even though we have supposed to be 7. It's okay. So I hope it benefits us all. Okay. Even though it broaden up our knowledge in whatever area of studies we are in, because we have a different field or something like that. Hopefully is benefit everyone in every aspect. Okay, so good luck everyone, and see you in the next breakout this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Okay, thank you very much.